the lead developer, Martin Wakely, who was on Skype call. I would highly recommend watching it after this run if you are interested in like development process of not only this game, but like any game made in this era, like the N64 games in general, are made by like these teams of like 5 college students, compared to like AAA games now with like hundreds of people. Anyway, the run's starting here, so I'm gonna go ahead and explain a bit of what's happening here. So, using the first level here, this vehicle you see here is the ram dozer. It's just a basic ram into building kind of thing. There's not much skill to it per se, but there is some small details you can get better at, like to avoid bouncing off of buildings. But this level is pretty simple. You just kind of clear that path. You'll see the beginning few levels here are going to like take you into each different vehicle you will be using later to kind of give you a tutorial here. Like these first 4 levels are like tutorials for these vehicles. So like this is the side swipe. It swipes to the left and right, and you have to like stay in the middle of these buildings, because you get too close to one side, it won't blow it up. So that was actually a very good time. Like almost sub 10 is a very respectable marathon time there. So nicely done by him.
All right, and one thing we can see is for some of these stages, you can see buildings that are marked with the green arrows, and I think those are the ones that are considered necessary for the to be destroyed.
Yes, correct. And these like tutorial levels, there is no missile carrier, so these are the ones you do destroy every building, but as a general rule, the arrows will point you in the right direction. And as the carrier gets closer to a building, the arrow will change to yellow to red, etc. And also, sub 20 there is another very good time. He's got a pretty good start going here.
And this is like the Tokyo Drift dump truck.
Yes. The Backlash is the nightmare vehicle for most people who remember this game. It's very difficult to control, but it's also the highest reward. It feels very nice to master it. And as you can see here, even a skilled runner can have some issues with it, but you recovered pretty nicely there. So. Because you skid all over the place, and it's easy to compound your mistakes with further mistakes with that vehicle. That's why it's one of the most difficult to master.
So the arrows, you see that they're green here, but earlier on they were yellow. I believe that has to do with the proximity to the truck itself. Like if it's very close by, it's like, hey, you really ought to destroy this one, because guess what's about to happen?
So this is the second carrier level, but this is like the first like real level, and this is also the first level where it's a scientist to collect. So he destroyed the main path, and now he has to go off to the side here and find the first scientist of the 6 you need to complete the game. And it's a pretty convoluted maze here. You have to find your way through, so it takes quite a while, but he's able to do it in the time it takes for the carrier to run its path, because you do have to kind of race against the clock. Because if you take too long, the missile carrier will go to the very end and trigger the end of the level. So you need to be fast here and like collect the scientists. Oh, he's going for the trick. Okay, so I'm just gonna shut up and see if he can get this. Oh my god, he got it first try. So that's just...
So yeah, that little bonk off the side to jump the wall there?
Yeah. Wow,
Great.
That's insane, dude. This guy's a god. You guys don't understand how hard that is. But yeah, that saves like 20 seconds of maze traveling, and it's like a frame perfect plus like additional things you have to do correct. Oh my god, that's very, very well. Like this is a record pace run right now for sure. So yeah, this is another Rambo's level. It's another basic, just run into the stuff in your way. But this level has a lot of opportunities to bounce off the building. Like some buildings you need 2 hits, but some buildings you need 1 hit, and you want to avoid bouncing off the buildings that only take 1 hit. So he kind of takes weird angles here to make sure that he doesn't bounce off, and that's kind of the tech in this level, really. Not much to it, but...
Alright, so now we appear to be in a, quote, vehicle that I haven't seen yet.
Yes, this is the Thunder Fist. Very unique looking vehicle here. It's mostly just I don't know what their thought process was when they made it, but I think they ran out of memory or something, so that's why it doesn't have 2 arms, and it just like worked out to be kind of like a cool looking 1-armed robot that rolls into things. But it has some pretty interesting skill required to master it as well, because like your active frames for blowing up buildings is not the entire length of your roll. It's only the very beginning and the very end of your roll. So you want to make sure you're hitting buildings at the very beginning or end, so that you don't ricochet off and kind of. You saw him make a slight mistake there where he didn't time it just right. So it's got some trickiness to it too.
So this level appears to have sort of like a Pac-Man element where you gotta light all these things.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
you don't actually have to do that.
that's part of the 100% categories. You have to find all these radiation diffusion units or something. It's RDU is the term for them. I think that they're meant to dissipate radiation from the carrier. That's kind of like the collectible they put in this game. Because, rare games always have to have a collectible,
There you go.
But they are useless for any percent. They're just things you get along the way, just for doing the level. Yeah, you see these like promotions, like every few gold medals you get that promotion to a higher rank of building destroyer, and they have like 20 synonyms of something that destroys buildings very well. I don't know. They exhausted the thesaurus for this game for sure.
Seems legit. So right now we've got some jetpack action. It's probably one of the more satisfying vehicles in this game. You just jump up and just crush everything.
Yep, the challenge with that vehicle is to try to avoid flying super high in the air for as long as you can, because it's not only laggy, but it just takes time. So you'll see him with that vehicle trying to slam the buildings low to the ground, and it takes more skill to do that. So he did bounce off once, which is a common mistake with that. This is the Skyfall, by the way. You can kind of see what it's supposed to do. It just dive bombs on the buildings. So that's a property of most vehicles in this game, is that if you're in midair in a vehicle, it'll instantly destroy any building. So like you can see him using these bumps here. If he's off the ground for like one frame, it's enough to destroy like the building in his way. So he has to use these bumps and ditches to his advantage here to destroy the buildings as fast as he can without having to ricochet too much. So he'll like turn around on this ditch here and kind of dive bomb that. It's kind of cool. Like there's different route opportunities with the ditches all over the place for sure. It was a pretty well done level. Not too much went wrong. He had trouble getting into that truck. It's kind of like weird. Sometimes you can't get in, but not too bad there.
Alright, it's backlash time, and
so here's one of the first major glitches.
he just blew up the thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that was not intentional, obviously, but it's very tricky. Like when you hit this clip on the bridge, you have to like hit the seam at the end of the bridge. There's a little seam with like where the actual like path starts, and you have to hit right in front of the carrier, but not quite. And that gives you a little boost above the hill here. You'll see once it gets it correctly. Ah man, he's having trouble.
So if you don't do this trick, I imagine you have to go all the way around.
Yes, it is a very long drive. It's like 15-20 seconds. So even though he had to restart a few times, he didn't lose as much time as you would think if he did it normally. And then you get this like huge speed boost. Like it's a really big time save. It's worth going for, even if you miss it a few times for sure. You get this like super mega swipe at the end with all that speed you get. It's really nice.
And looks like he was, as you said before, off the ground for some of those hits. So
yeah.
That just got rid of a bunch of them.
So the first like difference between Japanese and North American was in this level here at the very end. There was that little like grain silo thing in the very end, and that takes 2 hits to destroy if you swipe it like with maximum swipe power. And in the North American version, you would actually just hold Z and just blow it up immediately. And so in this version, you have to do an original way to do it. And then see here, he just got out of his vehicle and jumped off the ledge. Now this is a newer glitch that allows you to destroy things like you can in the North American version, but it takes a setup like that. So basically what happens is like your guy enters a vehicle either below or above ground, and this stores like his vertical position. And then the frame you exit your vehicle, that vertical position is stored for like 1 frame. So like it thinks your guy's in midair for 1 frame when it tries to get out, and that blows up any building in the entire game. Like they made it to where your little person is like able to destroy anything if he's off the ground, which is a unique thing to him. So it's used for destroying buildings like that statue, which normally would require TNT. Like there's this TNT at the very end of the level here next to that building he just passed. You'd have to drive the train all the way to the end and get the TNT on and drive the train all the way back, and then you blow up the statue. And then you get the J-bomb, but the reason he needs a J-bomb is because he got that scientist back there for the any percent objective. So it's definitely a huge time saver, like over a minute saved with this glitch. It's very nice to have on the Japanese version where you can't use the Z trick. And I haven't mentioned also, he does look at the carrier, like see at the beginning with the camera like not on the vehicle, but it's on the carrier. This is a thing we do to reduce lag, and this game is one of the laggier games ever. It's very laggy, so you want to be minimizing the time you look at these explosions. You see him trying to like get them off screen all the time. It's a technique we use here to save some more time. And this level is also unique in that it's the time you take to get the scientist. It takes too long to get the scientist to come back to the end of the truck to finish before the carrier runs its path. So because you can't beat the carrier to the end per se, you have to just like wait at the end and do nothing basically. So you don't have any penalties for making mistakes, but you do want to still reduce as much lag as you can because the lag does add up. The lag will make the carrier finish later than it would have if you reduce the lag. So basically this level is like an auto-scroller, but you still save time by lag reduction, so there is still some skill in it for sure.
Are you trying to tell me that this game that was put together by, just a few people is not particularly well optimized?
Yeah. Well, you have to consider too, like these guys made these games on like emulators in like '95 before there was even like an N64 to test on. So like they had no idea what the N64 console hardware would allow them to do or not. So it was kind of a guessing game. That's kind of part of what the lead developer talked about in the commentary he had with my run. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that's definitely something to look out for if you watch that run. Yeah, here he's just waiting for the carrier. He has nothing to do but wait. And it should be finishing in a few seconds here.
Alright, time to punch things with a Thunder Fist.
Danzel, I was recommending my AGDQ 100% run with Martin Wakely commentary. That's what I was referring to.
So now we're back to this regularly scheduled, very quick destroy and move on levels.
Yeah, this level is unique in that the carrier is the fastest moving carrier in all the levels. Like sometimes the carrier will move slower or faster, which I don't understand, like plot-wise why that happens, but I made it in that level to go super fast. So you can't make many mistakes or the carrier will run into the building very quickly.
Well, I mean, the terrain was clearly downhill, couldn't you tell? Or actually, never mind. What happened was somebody put a bomb on it and it had to stay over 50 miles an hour or it would explode.
It reminds me of that movie, like Crank, I think it's called, and they have to keep your heart rate up a certain level or you die. It's kind of like what happens in this game, I guess. Anyway, this level's kind of strange. Like, you have some stuff to destroy, but most of it's like getting these vehicles to create paths for this carrier to go through. Like, you have to move the train over the loading thing, and you have to move a boat into a loading thing or later on here. It's kind of weird. It takes quite a bit of time. And the nice thing about time trials, when you do come back after beating the games, you don't have to do like these vehicle movements. You only have to destroy the buildings. So, but for 90%, since it's the first time in a level, you do have to do everything that is in the way of the carrier, even if it's this kind of thing.
Yeah. So Of course, destroying these buildings right now is, it's going to cause some damage, but it's going to cause less damage than the massive nuclear explosion if you don't. That's the justification here for all this massive property damage.
And if somehow a house-sized vehicle crashing in your building does not kill you, so you see like all the little the survivor sprites running around looking for the helicopter to pick them up. There's like a helicopter in every level that runs around with a rope that doesn't do anything actually. It's just there for just for show. This level's pretty weird. You do have a train that takes you to the end here, and normally what you would do is to use the crane to lift your ramdozer to the other side, and it would push a TNT block over to this big building. But because of this glitch that was used earlier, where your dude can be in midair for like one frame, he uses his crane to get this tiny little hump that he can just run on the very edge for like a frame, and then that's enough to destroy the whole building. It's like you're Superman for a very short time. Here's the first look at the ballista, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it takes a lot of skill to get these missiles to destroy the buildings in the way you want to, because if you know what Super Metroid is like, it's similar to like Shine Sparking, where they have active damage frames throughout their distance through the buildings. So you have to make sure that they arc through a building as long as possible, so that they do damage continuously through it. And so there's another scientist there he just got. It's one of the easier ones to get. And you'll just finish up the level here. It's not too much to do left.
Alright, so that's half the scientists down.
Yep, 3 more to go.
So apparently those are all the medium missions.
Yeah, they're broken up into easy, medium, and hard. There's 4 easy, and then there's 8 medium and 8 hard levels, and they're pretty accurate to their namesake. The hard ones are pretty hard, especially casually. But even for speedrunning, these hard ones are typically one of the harder ones too. But anyway, for this level, we're using the ballista again, but it's actually intended for you not to use it, strangely enough, even though it's the vehicle you start with. The way you're supposed to beat the level normally is to shoot this barn at the very beginning, and there's a different vehicle in there that does not have ammo, and because it doesn't have ammo, you don't have to worry about this issue here where you run out of ammo and have to ram it. So this is the risk of using the ballista, is that if your missiles don't go where you want them to, then you have to do this slow backup strat. But the payoff is very nice if you do get the missiles to do everything, because if you destroy all the buildings before you run out, then it's super fast and then saves lag and etc, etc. So unfortunate that he ran out, but he recovered pretty nicely there as well too.
Alright, so more backlash strats.
Yeah, this level's very tough because most of the buildings here do not get destroyed in a single swipe. So you have to use these bumps, which are very seldom to find. You have to destroy all these buildings, and they take very precise angles of approach. And he'll be doing his best here to not have to do too many extra swipes here. He'll use that bump to kind of get both sides here. It's pretty tricky for sure. But whatever's left over, he can definitely clean up with his swipes here. This last building is one of the hardest in the game to do right, for sure, because it's you have to do 3 perfect swipes that hit both segments at the same time. Because most buildings are split up into 6 or 8 segments, and you have to make sure that you get every single one that you need to destroy at once if it's part of the missile to carrier path. So in that case, you have to destroy the whole thing, and it's all tough, and you have to make sure you hit right in the middle every time. But you did it pretty well. Pretty nice job there.
Apparently we just reached chief level. Just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, I wish I knew all the Japanese names for the promotion ranks.
Well, I'll do my best to read them. Some of them are written in in characters I do not recognize, but some of them are written in things I can understand.
So this is Oyster Harbor. Oyster Harbor is the longest level in the game by a considerable margin. He's going to use another instance of this glitch I talked about here to enter the vehicle from above the ground, and that'll store his position once again. He'll come up to this bridge here and blow up the first thing. And now he's going to use like this. I have no idea why this works, but if you just run your dude into the left side of these blocks, sometimes you'll just destroy them. So I don't know if he gets airtime for like 1 frame or something on the left side of this. I have no explanation. But it is faster than using the crane with the TNT block, which is the intended method. Even though it's taking several retries, it's still almost always faster to do it this way.
All right. So there it is.
Obviously, in the North American version, you can just hold Z, and it's faster than this trick. But the fact that he got all 3 of those like that quickly, it's still pretty good for a marathon. There's also like a very low chance that you just like clip out of bounds and level ends and you have to restart. So thankfully, that did not happen too.
Are you supposed to be able to stack blocks like that?
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know if the developers wanted that. I just kind of that's just what happens. You have to stack them if you want to make them move at the same time. Otherwise, you have to take 2 trips. So thankfully, you can do this, but it definitely looks very weird to like have concrete blocks inside each other. And so, yeah, you have to get all these blocks from all over the place. This is the only time you have to do it if you do play the whole game. But so it could be a good bit of time. And then you have the 3 boats coming up here as well. You have to get all 3 boats in the path similar to the previous level that had the train in the boat. Do the same thing in this level, but they're like they try to make it a puzzle to where you have to go to the last one first and then the middle one, etc. There's also a scientist to get here, which you will be using this boat to get. And the intended way to get the scientist is to get a TNT block like a mile away, and with another boat, you have to like the TNT like barely runs out of time right when you get it here. Like you have to be super fast. But once again, we have the power of glitches, and we're going to try to use this height storage to help destroy this thing here. And it is very tricky to get because you have to like position yourself perfectly to where you're like hopping in air once you get in. You can't even tell by looking if you got it. You have to just like keep trying. So he's going to use that glitch to both destroy that and this one. Like once you get out of your vehicle, the storage is lost. So that's why he did that last building there, because he still had the storage. And then there comes this glitch, which I have also no idea why it works. But if you just tap the B button 1 pixel at a time, you just clip into anything with the boat. It's like, I don't know why. But it's very interesting seeing like the array of things you do here with the Japanese version, especially to destroy this scientist block. And like all these crazy glitches all are faster than the TNT still. It's like just kind of comedy to see your dude running all over the place to do that.
Alright, so we've got that scientist. I guess we now head back and line this up. The first boat is already where it needs to go, right?
Yes.
So the only one he has to do now is the second boat.
Funny enough, even though like the boats can actually be misaligned, but still be able to get out of, and then they will trigger the like it's okay to finish the level thing. So like they won't be arrows anymore, but it is possible to park the boats in a way where the carrier will still hit it, but it's completed level anyway. So like you have to be sure that it's, if you're doing like 100%, you have to park them, like make sure they're parked in a way that they won't get hit by the carrier too. It's kind of weird. The programming is kind of suspect in some places where the triggers don't quite line up to where they need to be. But anyway, yeah, that's the longest level in the game is over. So most of the levels from now on are pretty short, like a minute or less. It's kind of a race to the end here with all these crazy levels, including this one, which is the craziest of all. He's gonna go for this.
What kind of clip is going on here?
So this is a
what?
There's an invisible wall over every tunnel you see here. You can't drive through the rail because there's an invisible wall. But if you clip to the right side here, you get this like super speed boost plus elevation boost. And you can just like terrorize these buildings without having to destroy both halves on both sides. Like normally this level you have to go on both sides of the rail and like destroy just the right half, and you have to go to the other side and destroy just the left half. And it's like notoriously for casuals to be one of the hardest levels to complete because it's the carrier is like it's pretty fast, all things considered. But yeah, he's getting these glitches very quickly. He's doing a nice job here.
Now it looks like for this second set of buildings, you get a lot of momentum there on the first one, but there's not quite enough to make it all the way down.
Yeah, it's kind of like luck. If you keep getting bounces on the rails, like there is some skill to getting them, but you kind of have to get lucky too. And so sometimes you run out of elevation and you have to just ram it. But you see here, he kind of failed the glitch. There's not really like a consistent way to get them. You kind of have to just hope. But the third one is the least penalty to miss, basically, because like he has to push these TNT blocks anyway with the Japanese version, because you cannot Z-trick the buildings like you would in the North American version. So he didn't lose too much time there. That was actually like really good, all things considered. He got the first two, which are the most important ones.
All right, so I think we may have glossed over this fact, but I wanted to go ahead and throw this out there. The way you complete the level, you destroy all the buildings that are in the way, and then of course, in order to actually clear the level, you move your character or whatever vehicle you're in to the ending zone, which is where the
truck
carrier would end up, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like the way you end levels, you enter the blast core truck, which just is like the thing you enter once you're done. But you can decide to just wait instead and wait for the carrier to complete the level. But in a speedrun, you want to obviously exit as soon as possible. And that's why you enter the truck. But yeah, for this level here, this is the only time you use this crazy yellow robot, and it's like it break dances in the buildings to blow them up or something. I don't know. It's very unique, but it's also very troll to not.
You might say these buildings just got served.
Yeah, I could say that. I believe we have 2 more levels left, and 1 more scientist to get.
So we've got the Skyfall here again, and you start quite a ways away from the objective. I was a little concerned. I'm like, he's just sitting here watching it. Oh.
Yeah, this one was definitely the harder of the 2 levels you use this vehicle in. You have to do some strategic aiming on these half pipes. Yeah, you can kind of like press A and B at the same time, and it lets you like slide backwards. And if you slide backwards into a ramp, it lets you get some like mega airtime, and you use that to your advantage on this level especially.
So that's a interesting strat where you push the 3 next to it and then take the last one all the way back. I guess that is probably the fastest way to do it, because otherwise you're switching back and forth.
Well, also you can't Crusher can't through there.
That was Crusher rank.
I see. Yeah, that's about. I think it's pretty close translation then, because I think it's what it is for the North American too. So yeah, we're in the final level. This level, you want to zoom in here because it's like super laggy, but this level is like one of the hardest too, because the carrier starts out like 10 feet from the first building, so you have to make sure you don't mess up the first one here. You should take a nice wide swipe. You still bounced off, but you should have a second. Yeah, there you go. You definitely don't want to mess it more than like 2 or 3 times, because then you're kind of screwed, but thankfully you recovered there. And then the scientist, to complete the 6 scientists, will be at the very end after he finishes his last 2 buildings. There we go.
He just said, I better not forget this or I don't win.
So there you go, that's it.
Alright, so that's time. That's 29 minutes and 17 seconds.
Yep, sub 30 is definitely good. Congratulations to Needle, very well done. So yeah, now you get the credit sequence where your controlled demolition's happening. The scientists have like set up this rock ravine for it to go into. I don't know how it makes sense, but yeah, if you're interested in this game or Needle himself, you can follow him on Twitch at twitch.tv/Needle, and he also has a Nico video as well. I think he has the info and the on the stream and also in his bio if you want to support him. And I also run this game. There's some other people who run it less often, like Claude has done some ILs, and maybe someday I'll get him to do an RTA run. I know Ockguard has also played this game, so yeah, there's a few people who play it right now. So if you like this game, there's some people to watch for sure. I'll definitely be coming back soon.
There's Grant Kirkhope on guitar. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you very much, Grav, for your excellent commentary on this run. I couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Certainly. All right. So we'll be setting up the next run.